Hey, what's up, killers? It is your final girl Mel coming at you from My Killer Podcast, and today we are going to be talking about Nosferatu. I just got back from the theater, and we have a lot to discuss today, so stay tuned because I am doing a spoiler-free review, but I'm also going to be doing some spoiler talk at the end of the video because the movie dropped yesterday. So people have seen it. So why not dive into some of the dirty details about it? Stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. If you are new here, I am not only on YouTube, I'm also on a bunch of other social media platforms. Kill the description box below and follow me everywhere. Like I said, today we're going to be doing a Nosferatu review. This was a much anticipated movie for this channel. I was super excited to see it. And now that I have, I am excited to talk to you guys about it. We're going to start off the review in doing a spoiler-free talk, but stay tuned if you've seen the movie. At the end of this video, we're going to be diving into some spoiler details because, frankly, I have some things to say. If you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to know if you want to watch it or not, so you just want to kind of feel it out, I will let you know when that spoiler talk starts so you can peace out before we get there. Before we dive right into the review, let's talk about the movie just for a second. Don't bail on me yet, just for a second. Nosferatu is a 2024 horror drama. It's starring Bill Skarsgård, William Dafoe, Lily Rose Depp, and Nicholas Hoult. It was directed by Robert Eggers, and the screenplay was also done by Robert Eggers. Nosferatu is a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and a terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. It is also a remake of the 1920s film Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, which is one of my favorite renditions of the Nosferatu tale. There have been many remakes since then of this particular story, which is also based off of a book, Dracula by Bram Stoker. There have been many movies based off of this particular story as well. But I don't want to wag my jaw too much. Let's get into it. I did enjoy the movie. I liked it quite a bit. It was beautiful. It was a beautifully shot movie. The cinematography was amazing. I do have one gripe about the cinematography though. I have heard some complaints here and there about Robert Eggers' cinematography sometimes being a bit dark. I don't know. I don't watch very many of his movies, but I did notice there are certain parts of this film that were a bit dark for me. But other than there being certain spots in the movie that were a little too dark for me, I thought the cinematography was absolutely beautiful. Performances, personally, I thought everyone nailed it. William Dafoe's performance I thought was maybe a little off-putting towards the end, but other than that, everyone absolutely killed it. I heard some people say Lily Rose Depp's performance was a little over the top, but I thought she worked for me. She absolutely worked for me. I felt like her performance was necessary given what she was going through and the way they took her character arc. I wasn't expecting where her character was going. Considering the movies prior to this, her character didn't really get much of a backstory. Especially in the 1922 film, Ellen's character gets like no story. She gets nothing. In this movie, you get everything. They add to the lore. They do take some liberties with this movie in some of the storytelling. Because they're giving you so much more here, I think that's okay. I think it's okay with me that they did that. This movie is over 2 hours. The previous movies weren't this long, so they had to fill in lines a little bit here. Speaking of the story, like I said, this movie is over 2 hours long. Do I feel like it necessarily needed to be quite that long? No, I don't particularly feel like it needed to be. I do feel like there were some moments that we could have trimmed out of there. They added some things that I don't think that were particularly necessary. I felt like the movie did have good pace, though. I felt like there weren't really too many moments that I was bored and kind of waiting for the next thing to happen. I felt like it moved along well and I was entertained and everything flowed very well together. I do feel like there were some unnecessary things in there, though. Some sequences that, though added to the entertainment of the story, didn't necessarily need to be in the story, if that makes sense. Like, you could have plucked them out of there and the movie still would have made sense. if that makes sense. If you know what I mean? Do you get it? But we'll talk more about that in the spoiler part of this review, because I don't want to give you too many details about the story in the spoiler-free part of the review. Last and certainly not least, I do want to talk about character design in the spoiler-free part of this review a little bit, just because they did take great care in keeping Count Orlok's look hidden in all of the promotional materials of this movie, and it was for great reason. They wanted to surprise everyone with his look in the actual movie. And I am very curious to know how everyone feels about Count Orlok's look. So I want everyone who has seen the movie, please, I beg you, kill the comments below and let me know how you felt about Count Orlok's look, because I feel some kind of way about it. 1922 Nosferatu is my favorite of all of the renditions of this movie, and Count Orlok looked a certain way. I have him right over here. He looked like this. He was quite an interesting looking character. He was very thin, but he had these very triangular shoulders. He was very long and gangly, and he had these very pointy long ears, and he looked very rat-like, and he had these long teeth, and he had these very big eyes, and they were very dark around them, and he was quite creature-like, and he had this very curious, mysterious way about his movement, and he was very kind of quirky-like. So I loved him. I loved his character in that movie. I did not like the presentation of Orlok that we got in this movie. So let me know what you guys thought about the Orlok that we got. So like I said, I did enjoy this movie a lot. I just have some gripes here and there about it. They're not anything significant. None of these gripes about the movie ruined it for me. That is it. That is what I have for you for my spoiler-free review. I definitely think if you can make it to the theater to see this one, go see it. It's worth your ticket. We're going to move on to my spoiler talk right now. So if you have not seen this movie, get out of here. Come back after you've seen it. I wish you well. I hope you had a good holiday. All right, now let's get into some spoiler talks about this movie. As I alluded to, some of the parts of the story that I did not think were absolutely necessary is some of the dream sequences that they put in there. There's also a lot going on between Lily Rose Depp's character Ellen, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character Frederick, and his wife Emma Corrin, Anna Harding's characters. There's a lot going on with that group of people in their house. There's so much back and forth when Thomas is gone. I feel like they could have cut so much of that out. There's a lot of character building between Aaron Taylor Johnson and his family, because they want you to know that he really loves his family, because his character, Frederick, goes through it. You end up in the end feeling the worst for him. In the original movie, which is what this movie is supposed to be based on, the 1922 film, you're supposed to feel the worst for Thomas, right? Because, you know, he loses Ellen. But in the end of this movie, I ended up feeling the worst for Frederick. He lost it all. He lost everything. They spent a good majority of this movie building the characters and the character arc for Frederick and Anna and their family. I feel like they spent so much time on that family and Ellen than they really did anything else. And I feel like a good chunk of that could have been taken out because that's not really what we needed. You know, we needed what previously happened between Orlok and Ellen, because I feel like the mystery was really there. What was that all about? Like, yeah, they talked a little bit about it, but we didn't really get to see hardly any of it. You're just kind of left at the end with like this quick little snippet of her telling Thomas kind of what she did, but you don't really understand what really happened between them. So I would have loved for them in the grand scheme of the over 2 hour movie, take out all of the Frederick family stuff and put in more of the prequel of the Orlok and Ellen stuff, so we know what the hell actually happened. Which is where they kind of like add to the lore. They take liberties on the story a little bit as to what was really going on between Ellen and Orlok. And another kind of gripe of mine is they kind of made Orlok this like really dislikable character. He's so mean. Because in the 1922 film, like I said, Orlok is just this quirky, weird, mysterious little creature guy who just kind of walks around and is all like, you know, like I don't know if they really wanted him to be menacing or not, but he wasn't really as menacing to me. But this one, in this movie, is menacing as hell. He's horrifying, and I don't know. I didn't really like that. I didn't really like how menacing he was. I guess I thought in my mind that this was going to be more of a romance kind of a thing, which I didn't want. I didn't want that. I guess I went in thinking that that's what it was going to be, and that's not what it was. And then that leads me into my next thing, where Orlok's look. Like, holy mustachio. That was a choice. It was definitely a choice to put the Burt Reynolds mustache on him. I think I even heard somebody say that he had a mustache in the book. I don't know. I didn't read the book, okay? I don't know. I know that the original movies, he did not have a mustache. The mustache took me out of it. Every time I saw his face, the mustache took me out of it. I wanted to see fangs, and you could not see fangs. Nothing about his look or his character screamed vampire to me. Nothing about that screamed vampire to me. He just looked like a giant, regular, zombie-looking, plagued dude with a giant mustache. According to the director, it's based on the 1922 film, so maybe they did take a liberty and decide to pull the mustachio from the book. I don't know. But it was a choice, and it was a choice I wish they did not make. That is just my personal preference. I wish they would have went more with the original look or something more vampire looking. Even if they wanted to do something different than the 1922 look and they wanted to do something different than the book, cool. I am down for that. But do something that looks like a vampire. This did not look like a vampire to me. Okay. I am going to jump off this diatribe. I do want to talk about a couple of things that absolutely worked for me, though. The visuals, like I said, this movie is very visually appealing. The cinematography is fantastic. That opening scene is amazing. And this is where I want to jump into Lily Rose Depp's performance, because without her weird, like, whatever she's doing, it doesn't work, right? That opening scene is awesome. It had me right from the beginning. There's another scene later with Nicholas Hoult where he's at the castle already, and it shows Count Orlok feeding from him for the first time, and it just goes completely silent. There's no score absolutely at all, and they just want you to hear him sucking the blood from his body, and he's like on top of him, like naked, and it's haunting and scary, and you just hear, like, you can hear the blood coming out of his body, and that scene was just, it was gross, but it was awesome. So that scene was fantastic. I absolutely loved that scene. There's another scene where Nicholas Hoult is on his way to the castle and he's just kind of walking down this road and it's dark and it's kind of snowing, kind of where I wish it wasn't so dark because it's absolutely beautiful. The cinematography is beautiful, but it's so dark. Can't see anything. I wish it was lighter because it looks like it would just be beautiful, stunning. And they really nail it with the costume design in this one. It is a period piece, of course, but the costuming is just magnificent in this movie. I am a fashion stylist, photographer, so of course I always appreciate when the costuming is on point, and they absolutely nailed it in this one. Another aspect of the story that I wanted to touch base on is they kind of took it to another level and they added a possession aspect to it, where Count Orlok is possessing Ellen. And they show a lot of that in the end, and Lily Rose Depp's performance really looks like this is a possession movie. It's kind of no longer a vampire movie. This is kind of a possession movie. Like, Count Orlok doesn't look like a vampire, and in the end, Ellen is possessed by him. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't even feel like a vampire movie. It feels more like a possession movie, to be honest. So that's kind of how the story takes liberties and twists and turns and all of the things from the 1922 version of the movie. Dad, Nosferatu is not a vampire movie. It's a possession movie. Merry Christmas. Those are my babbling thoughts about Nosferatu. Kill the comments below and let me know, what did you think about the movie? I still loved it, given all of the twists and turns and changes that they made. Did I love the mustachio? No, I did not-yo. But that is it. That is all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And until the next time we gather, have a killer day. Peace.